Thank you for joining our virtual job fair for nurse surveyors, also known as Health Facilities Evaluator Nurses. We are very excited for your participation and interest today, and we have gathered a panel of experts to talk about the impact and work of nurse surveyors, as well as the benefits and pay, the application process, and address all other questions. As you can see in the agenda here, we have a number of topics to cover today, each of which will be followed by questions you all submitted relative to that topic. And then there will be a final opportunity at the end of this fair to submit new questions, and we will endeavor to answer as many of those as we can. But let's get started. First of all, I'm Virginia Yamashiro. I'm currently Chief of Field Operations for Non-Long-Term Care for Licensing and Certification Program, California Department of Public Health. I've been in this position for about a year. I'm also a registered nurse, by the way. I had acute experience before I came over to work for the state about 25 years ago. Um, so I've been doing the branch shift for 10 years, and it gives me a pleasure to work closely with district offices and also do the task, the mission of California Department of Public Health. So to my left is Dina McFarland. She's a branch chief of field operations. So Dina, you want to talk about your experience?
Sure. Originally, I was a registered nurse and I have ICU experience. And in 2001, I became a nurse surveyor. And then I promoted to supervisor and then district administrator at a district office. And then last June, I moved up to Sacramento and I became a branch chief. And I have a region up here in the Bay Area.
Great, thank you. And also joining us is Sarah Prady. She's our personnel liaison. So Sarah, what do you do in your job?
I have been a personnel liaison for about 4 years now, and I have assisted a lot of people like yourself who are interested in applying for the health facilities evaluator nurse positions. You may have received postcards in the mail in the past or have gone online and needed help applying. There's a phone number there, and I'm generally one of the people on the other lines that helps you to walk through the application process or answer any questions you may have. So I am happy to help.
Great, thank you. And last but not least, we have
Yes.
Sherry Green Johnson. She's Chief of Payroll, Benefits, and Position Control Section. So Sherry, tell us about your experience working for HR.
My name is Sheree Green Johnson. I've been working for HR for over 15 years, but I've been working with Department of Public Health for the last 3.5 years. And I'm very familiar with the Health Facility Evaluation Nurse
Nurses.
Series, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Great. So let's go ahead and start. Let's talk about the impact and work of a nurse surveyor. So Dina, you want to talk about that?
Sure. With patient advocacy at the forefront of our job, we ensure the compliance with state licensing laws and with federal regulations in the nursing facilities that we oversee. Uh, Nurse surveyors are at the forefront of ensuring the quality of care in the health facilities that our department oversees. And as a surveyor, you will be a part of a unique team of compassionate and committed professionals that can highly influence the quality of care delivered to patients. Health facility evaluator nurses apply their breadth of healthcare knowledge, analytical assessment, and problem-solving skills to promote the highest quality of care to patients throughout the state. And actually, in my 16 years with the department, I have seen a great improvement in the quality of the health care in the facilities that we do regulate. And so they do make a difference.
Yes, I can really vouch for that. So let me talk about the facilities we survey and the locations statewide. As you know, the Center for Healthcare Quality, which our licensing and certification program is the largest department in CDPH, which is the California Department of Public Health. We are responsible for enforcing the quality of patient care in facilities across the state. This work is being accomplished in a large part through our nurse surveyors, which are the health facilities evaluator nurse. Our top priority is to protect patient safety and ensure quality care for all patients and residents of the more than 10,000 healthcare facilities we regulate in California, which includes acute care hospitals, home health agencies, hospices, skilled nursing facilities, dialysis facilities, and more than 30 other facility types. So we serve as an advocate for the patients and make sure that they receive quality and safe patient care. Uh, as you can see on the map, there are 14 district offices located along the state, all the way up north in Santa Rosa and Redwood Coast, all the way south to San Diego, at Los Angeles, Ventura, and of course Central California, we have Fresno and Bakersfield. So with all these locations, I'm sure you can find a location of an office that's close to your home. And I think that would be really good in supporting that the proximity of your work location to where you live. The, especially in LA, there's a lot of traveling going on. So I encourage you to look at these different locations and see where you can work for us. So let's talk about position requirements. What qualifies a health facilities evaluator nurse? So Dina, you want to talk about that?
Sure. Nurse surveyors have a direct effect of patient advocacy through their unique analytical roles as surveyors. So the minimum qualifications to become a nurse surveyor, you have to possess a California registered nursing license. You need to have a year of professional experience, which includes a minimum of 6 months of administrative experience. And administrative experience could be anything from a director of nurses, shift supervisor, nursing home administrator, director of staff development. There are different things that qualify for the administrative responsibilities. But you can meet some of the minimum qualifications. If you have a Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree, that will meet the 6 months of administrative experience. Or if you possess a master's degree in a recognized health field, that will qualify for the year of professional experience. If you meet any of those qualifications and have a strong analytical reasoning, problem-solving abilities, and passion for patient advocacy, then this may be the perfect job for you.
Great. So I think we're ready to handle some questions now that were submitted before. So, Cherie? Oh, you. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm going to go ahead and ask Dina
Okay,
because
all
she's
right,
next
sorry.
to me.
Yes.
So Dina, why did you choose to become a health facilities evaluator nurse, also known as a nurse surveyor?
Well, it actually was kind of a silly reason, but I had young children and I no longer wanted to work nights or weekends or holidays, and so that was the first thing that piqued my interest in becoming a nurse evaluator. But then once I got into the position, I really enjoyed it, and I stayed because of the changes that I saw in healthcare. You know, we keep finding issues and working on ways for facilities to improve them, and to see the changes, it was a great thing to experience. So that was the primary reason.
Yep. So if you want change, go to us.
So, Virginia, what type of employee tends to exceed here?
I think somebody with good analytical and problem solving, investigative skills. We're like detectives as a nurse surveyors because we try to investigate through our process if there's some wrongdoing happening in a patient setting. So I think that is very critical. If you like that challenge to find out if there's something else going on in the care of the patient, this would be a detective skill for you. That's really great. You also need to be adaptable to change because there are a lot of changes going on in the health field, and we have to learn to survey them. Especially now, we have a new long-term care survey process. We usually before do it in paper and pencil. Now we have to use the tablet. So that's really exciting, and in a way, it just started November 28th this year, and now we have to start doing it. So I think if you like change, you have good investigative skills, problem solving, and analytical skills, this is the job for you.
And Dina, how useful or necessary would you say direct patient care experience is?
It's very useful because it helps you evaluate the care that the patients are receiving. I know through nursing school you do have some bedside care, but having some patient care experience is helpful.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
Virginia, how many nurse surveyors are needed in a specific county? Is there like a number, a number
A
that
magic number?
a magic number? Yeah. Is there a magic
There's
number?
really no magic number. I think it depends upon how many facilities there and how much is the allocation within each office. I think it's something to do with the budget and HR controlling this. But we tend to get the nurses that are close to their homes. And so that would be the easy way that we can allocate nurses along the district offices.
And then I wanted to add, is it typical to work with a team or is it typical for a nurse surveyor to work independently?
It depends. In some surveys, like skilled nursing facility, you have a team of 3 or 4. In smaller facilities, like ambulatory surgery center or even a dialysis facility, you just need one nurse. But you will be trained adequately before you are brought in as an individual surveyor.
And Tina, what is the usual mix of field versus office work in terms of like hours per week?
Well, it just depends because we do surveys and also complaint investigations. So most typical offices, you'll go out on a survey. It'll take about 2 to 3 days of being at the facility and doing your survey process, and about 2 days to write that up. So we kind of alternate, and then if you're going out doing complaint investigations or entity reported incidents, you'll be in the facility for about a day and then come back and write it up. So it really varies. It might be almost 50-50 out in the field and write up time. So it just varies.
Okay. Virginia, can you answer, do you travel a lot with an assigned county or throughout the state? And how many agencies or facilities do you see in a day?
You usually are assigned in the area you're close to. But in certain situations, we might have to help other district offices in their workload. So there is some traveling going on around the state, um, including LA. But this is reimbursed. We have a state travel expense that you claim for. On your next question, how many agencies? Um, you can only see one probably for 2 or 3 days because there's a long investigative process. Skilled nursing facility, it takes about 3 to 4 days to finish a survey. So there's no expectation that you have to finish 2 agencies in one day. There's no quota for our job, but you have to do the right job, so you have to take your time.
And Dina, what would you say has been the greatest challenge as a state surveyor?
Um, I can't really think of a great challenge. One of the things I know, I did miss bedside nursing care, but I think through the years of experience and investigating, I liked playing Clue as a kid, and so I do
See,
like, yeah, I do like getting out there and investigating and seeing what was going on. So I don't think there were a lot of challenges, but I do miss the direct patient care at times.
Right. Okay, so those are some of the questions. Now let's move forward to benefits and pay. And I'm sure that's one of your major questions here. Becoming a nurse surveyor is the change that many nurses like yourself are waiting for as a nurse surveyors or health facilities evaluator nurse. It's predominantly a Monday to Friday job, and we have the alternate schedule as soon as you pass your probation. That's the key word. And it's a collaborative work environment with patient advocacy at the forefront. We also have the 457 or 401k and the Savings Plus program. So Sherry can talk about compensation and the benefits as a health facilities evaluator nurse.
Okay, sure. As a health facility evaluator nurse, the base salary starts off about $64,152 and it maxes out at $84,252. And when you become a state employee, we have an excellent vacation, annual leave, and a sick package, not sick package, a sick leave package, which all of that will be presented to you upon your hire. We get 11 paid holidays and 2 professional development days that can also be used the same as your vacation. It can be used in increments of 2 hours, 1 hour, 30 minutes. And then we get a personal holiday every year on June 30th of 2000 and June
Every
30th
year.
of every year. I'm sorry, I'm like fumbling over words. Okay, and the generous benefits that we also offer is that we have a CalPERS plan, which is the California Public Retirement, and that is an excellent retirement plan, and we have publication 32 upon your hire that we will provide you with that will give you all the information that you need on your retirement benefits. And as I mentioned before, we have excellent medical and dental and vision benefits. And if you have any questions, HRB is always here to help you. So come on and apply and come to us.
Right. Great. So I'm sure you're asking job training. What do we do in terms of training
Actually, we have a pretty good training
program?
program here. We offer state and federal training, and we also send surveyors to academies, and they go side by side with trained surveyors. And we also provide additional training annually, and whatever's needed. We have a strong training program.
Right, and federal government usually mandates some training, and we are assigning some surveyors to attend that as well.
Correct.
Okay, I think we're ready for some questions and hopefully provide the answers. All right. So, is this my question?
That would be Dina. That's Dina's question.
No, you're doing the first.
Okay.
You're doing the first one.
Do we offer part-time positions?
That was you.
That's my
answering.
question,
Yeah.
and
No,
that's my
you're-
answer
yes.
too. Okay. Yes, we do. We offer part-time as well as full-time. So whatever your option is, we're ready for it. I think there's some situations in some, like I know Chico District Office for some, they've been hiring a lot of part-time because they don't have a lot of full-time applications. So we're willing to work with whatever job, requirements you have or job opportunities you have. All right. So who has the next question?
Sheree, can you explain the salary range once again and what impacts, and what impacts the range that you qualify for? And is it negotiable?
Well, the salary ranges are governed by the California Human Resources Department, and they're pretty much set until bargaining every year or every other year. We bargain our contracts, and our contracts that's when the salaries change. So that's kind of like that's a hard question because you don't want to say no, you don't want to say yes, but it's CalHR is the agency that handles all of our salaries, and that's the California Human Resources Department, which is available online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the training process
What
like,
a-
and how long does it take, and how much training is provided, Dina?
The training, when you first come on board, primarily everyone learns how to survey skilled nursing facilities. That's a large part of our workload. So I believe it's a 5-week, different weeks at a time. You'll go a week and then you'll be back at your
Do
office
some homework.
of training, the federal training. And then at the end of it, you also do some federal training online, and you take an SMQT test, which is a Surveyor Minimum Qualifications Test. And basically that process before you independently survey is about 9 months. And then before you do each specialty, there are trainings provided.
Okay.
How would you say employee success is measured?
They are mentored. We have training supervisors in the district office, and they're mentored, and they're closely watched. So if there's some weaknesses, they're given opportunities to fix it, and guidance, and there's just a lot of training. So they normally it's very, very good training opportunities, and if there's a weakness in a certain area, there's lots of classes, and sometimes people learn better or train better off of different people, so they may readjust who you're learning from. So success is closely monitored, and good suggestions are given to improve. The job isn't for everybody, but a lot of people, you learn because it's so different to be a surveyor than a bedside nurse. So it's a different focus, and so we watch people closely, and some people it doesn't work out for them, but a lot of people they really enjoy it.
And you'll know it up front during the first few months
Right,
if this
right.
is a job for you or not.
Right.
And also we have the individual development plan or the performance evaluation that we do once a year, and this will kind of give the employee a chance to see, probably request some additional training, and also our way of telling them if they meet the requirements of the job. So like any other job, there's an evaluation process, during your probationary as well as your regular work job. So that's just the process that HRB has. So, Cherie, how are raises determined and how is it awarded?
Raises are determined through the merit salary appraisal process, and they're awarded on an annual basis.
Good. Especially if they do a good
If
job.
they do a good job.
Yes. So,
For how long will the state pay the retention bonus, and will that amount ever increase?
The retention bonus is indefinite, and it increases if the bargaining contracts
Renegotiated.
renegotiate and cause for an increase, yes. But they're pretty much set in stone.
right.
What are the CalPERS retirement benefits for the position, and can they be added if you've got previous CalPERS qualifying years?
Absolutely. That's called the reciprocity. And CalPERS, like I was stating before, CalPERS is a good retirement agency that actually serves a lot of cities and counties. So a lot of people coming into the department have reciprocity from working with the city or state. And I know that in this Heaven series, we have a lot of employees who come in that used to work at universities and maybe worked at labs and UCD, and that time counts. So like I said before, once you get hired with the state, the Human Resources Branch will be sending out a lot of valuable information, and one of those is the CalPERS Publication 32, which has a lot of information for you.
All right.
Great. So now you learn about the benefits and pay. Now let's talk about how you're going to apply, because I think this is the main reason why you're here, right? So
Yes.
Sarah will talk about the application process.
So if any of you are interested in applying, which I hope you are if you're here with us today, you're going to visit this www.cdphnurse.org. You're going to then be brought to a screen here, and at the bottom boxes it's going to say step 1. Step 1 is where you create your account. You will need to create a username and a password. Please remember it or write it down, because you will use this often when you're going into your account. Here is where you can select things. For example, if you are interested in working part-time or full-time, what area of interest, or what location you might be interested in working in. You can make all of these selections there. It only takes a few minutes to create your account. And please leave this browser up when you are applying online as well, because you are going to revisit this page probably a couple times throughout the entire application package. So once you complete that, it's going to take you to a different website. Once you create your account, you're going to come back to this page, and you're going to click on step 2. It's going to take you directly to the place where you take your exam. And people do often call and ask if they need to study. This exam is not necessarily something you can study for. It's based on your own experience in the field, and you will get your results instantly. It will tell you if you've passed or failed at the end. As soon as you do take this exam, it will place you on an eligibility list. It does not consider you applying for the position. Some people think I took the exam, which means I've applied for the position. That is not the case. This just means you've taken the exam. You are now, assuming you've passed, are on a list. From that step, once you've taken the exam and passed, you will come back to this page, click on that step 3 right there, use the drop-down box, and select the location in which you're interested in applying to. At that point, it will take you to another website. At this point, things could possibly get a little complicated. Feel free to give me a call if you have any troubles from that point on, and I can walk you through step by step on how to actually physically submit your application. And my phone number is a direct line. It will ring directly to my desk. And the phone number I will say twice is 916-552-9905. Once again, that's 916. Is that it?
Yeah.
322-9905. And please, if you do get to that point, give me a call when you're up in front of the computer, and it will just take us a few minutes. I can walk you through step by step on how to apply. You will receive a confirmation number that your application has been submitted successfully at the end. And you can also apply for several locations. If you then want to go back and apply for another location, you're just going to go right back to this page and choose a little drop down box, select another location you might be interested in working in, and submit another application to that location as well.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. So I think now we're ready to answer some questions regarding the application process. Okay.
How difficult is it to actually get a position as a nurse surveyor?
Not very difficult, as long as you meet the minimum qualifications and the experience, and you did the exam. You should be able to get into the list, and then we can possibly contact you for an interview, and there you go. You start the process of the hiring. So I really encourage you to try this, follow Sarah's direction on the application process, because it's very easy to be a nurse surveyor for the state.
And people often call and say, how do I take the exam? And once again, you're going to visit that website that we just briefly went over, which is the www.cdphnurse.org, and you can click on that step number 2, and it will take you directly to the exam link so you can apply.
And for question number 3, Sarah, what is the difference between taking an exam and applying for the job?
Taking the exam is just that. It is taking the exam, and once you've passed, you are then placed on an eligibility list. Once you do take this exam and you get on a list too, this may be the point where you start receiving letters in the mail sometimes. You might receive what we call inquiry letters that you are more than welcome to respond to if you're interested in that position. But once you do know, or once you are on that list, you might start seeing those in the mail, which is helpful as well. You can also sign up for notifications for jobs coming up, etc.
So, Sarah, can I apply at multiple locations?
You can apply for
Oh,
multiple
good.
locations.
So how do I do that?
You will visit that website that we were just on
Okay.
and use that drop-down box that was in step 3. Just click on the location you're interested in, and it will take you directly to the application template where you can use that to apply for that location.
Okay.
And I'll ask, is citizenship required for this job?
Applicants do need to meet the legal requirements to work in the United States, and they do also need to possess a California registered nurse's license.
And so a permanent resident is eligible to apply?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so Dina, does a gap in work history affect the hiring process?
I would just suggest if you have any gaps on your application or any unusual things in your application to explain it during the interview process. So if you have a gap, it's kind of good to, with any kind of interview, to explain to the people interviewing you during this period of time this happened. Same with being let go from a position. I think being upfront with it during the interview process is a positive thing. So it wouldn't necessarily affect the hiring process. It'd be good to explain the reasoning. Right. Okay, and then I think this is for you, Virginia.
Okay.
If I apply and do not
No.
hear anything back,
That's
whoever,
HR.
how can I obtain feedback on why I was not considered for the position? I guess it's you, Cherie.
Well, if you apply for the job, you can contact the unit, the certification unit, and so that would be Sarah. Now, for the next question, if you mailed in an application and you never received, then you can contact apply@cdph.ca.gov. Again, that's apply, APPLY, at cdph.ca.gov. Thank you.
And if I could just add something too, if you have applied and you have not heard anything back, when you do go online and click on the job posting that you are applying to, there is a person's name and contact phone number on that ad. It doesn't hurt to always call and see if maybe you can get some recommendations on what you could do better next time, or maybe what it was if you interviewed that maybe you weren't selected. So there is always a contact person on the job posting with that specific location. So you can call and get feedback or ask questions.
Great. All right. So now I think we're opening the gateway for questions, and hopefully it's not a flood. Please submit your questions through the WebEx chat feature on the right-hand side of your screen. Please ensure your questions are being submitted to the host, and we will group the questions into like categories and answer them to the best of our abilities. Are you ready for a change? This is the job. So I think we're getting some questions here. Does managed care experience count as administrative? Managed care working in the
Yeah.
headquarters?
I'm not
Or
sure.
working in, I don't think they're bedside.
Yeah, I'm not sure what managed care means. Is it for like, utilization
Uh,
management?
oh, utilization review. Um, so we need to check on that. Yeah, because some of the HMOs, Blue Shield, I know, has UR nurses that do the paper review to approve procedures and surgeries. So what we
What-
would, yeah, we would need to know exact duties
Duties are.
that they're doing as on this position.
So when you apply on the application, be real descriptive in your job description of what you do, and if it's, it would be reviewed to see if it meets the qualifications for administrative. So just describe your job descriptions well on the application.
Okay. Another question is there any way to be alerted when part-time opportunities become available?
There is a way.
Okay.
You can, when you create your account and on that website we went over earlier, you will select if you're interested in part-time, interested in full-time. Also, once you take that exam and get placed on the list, you'll receive inquiry letters. You might see some that are part-time or some that are full-time. But you will specify on there what you're interested in, and you can also sign up right there for notifications when jobs start coming available. So you'll get an email notification if maybe a part-time one comes up, then you know to go online and apply at that time.
Okay, this one's, how much traveling is required, and is there overnight traveling? Traveling, a lot of it depends on the district office you work out of, but there is traveling that occurs, especially during training. However, there are instances where people are unable to travel, so sometimes there's accommodations made for that. But overnight travel, there is some overnight travel, and you are reimbursed with per diem. It's a set rate. Your hotel room up to a certain amount is reimbursed, and you get paid for your meals, etc. So your traveling expenses are paid also for traveling out of town.
Okay, so this is a good question. How long is probationary period? So for health facilities evaluator nurse, it's 12 months, a year. And we do periodic review every 4 months. So this is like the probation period for second and third. Every 4 months to make sure that we let you know any feedback or comments or any additional training you need in doing this job.
And this, I kind of answered
Yeah.
before. Charge nurse does count as administrative experience because you're overseeing, in addition to doing patient care, it's kind of overseeing administrative work. So yes, it does count.
All right. So let's while waiting for more questions from you guys, let's answer some of these other questions too that we did not handle earlier. Can retired nurses be hired as nurse surveyors?
Absolutely. We do have a lot of nurses that have retirement from other positions, and then they come on board with us and work with us. So
Yeah.
that we do hire retired nurses.
We take it all. So as long as you meet the minimum requirements, you know you're an RN, you have a year experience, go for it.
Yeah.
How many years are required to be vested for the CalPERS retirement?
5.
5 years. 5 years to be vested in CalPERS retirement.
Okay.
And at that time, upon hire, you will be automatically placed in the Tier 1, which is the top retirement benefit. But then you'll have the option of going to Tier 2. But like I said before, publication 2032 will give you all that information.
And that's in the website
That's
for
in the website.
HRB?
Yes.
Okay. So another question is training full-time only? Is it paid?
Well, training, you're paid for training.
Yes.
Right now, mostly the training courses are full-time. There might be some that are only 3 days long, but the initial training currently is full-time.
So yeah, you're expected to attend that for
The full,
a week.
they're weeks
Yeah,
at a time.
it's 4 days.
Correct.
And we have 2 locations, one here in Folsom and one in Arcadia for the south. So we try to make it work for people so they don't travel as much. And it's a 4 weeks training for the new Surveyor Academy, 1 week to focus on the state enforcement, and the other 3 weeks for the federal survey and enforcement. All right, so we have more questions. If an applicant is a retired state employee, will their service continue as a nurse surveyors? So it depends upon the last job that they had as a retired, before they retire. So we have some health health facility evaluator nurse that come back as a nurse again, doing the survey work. And we also have district office manager that are health facilities evaluator manager that comes back and work as either a supervisor or a nurse surveyor. So this is just they're collecting retirement, and there's some hours needed to meet the retirement when you're retired annuitant. We call it a retired annuitant. So if you're interested, you can also contact HRB PLU personal liaison and see what we can do for you.
Yeah. How can I find out which district office reviews which cities and counties because they want their best fit?
Right.
I believe the website
Has
will
the
list,
counties.
I forget offhand how to get there, but it's the cdph.ca.gov. Under programs, I believe you would look at licensing and certification, or you can look in the search bar and it'll define the district offices and it'll list which counties they cover underneath it.
So
But you can always call us and ask
right.
too.
So on the
give you that information.
presentation, we listed the 14 locations. Um, the office location has the counties on the website where they're responsible for. So then you will know which area is the best fit for you.
Okay, let's see. After how many weeks of training do we go out in the field ourselves? Well, you have to be before you can
Right
actually,
away. No, just kidding.
before you can actually be, primarily we start surveying skilled nursing facilities. So before you are alone in a skilled nursing facility, you do have to pass that SMQT. So
Yes.
it's 6 to 9 months,
Yeah.
hopefully. But you'll be going out in the field with other trained surveyors before then.
Before you go by yourself.
There's one on here, it was asking about what shifts are available and when is the start date. I'm not sure what that means, when is the start date, but what shifts, we're a Monday through Friday organization primarily. There are times where we might have to go into a facility off hours or over the weekend, but that's not that often. But primarily, your weekends are
Monday to
off.
Friday.
Yeah, Monday through Friday.
8
And
to
there are
5.
alternate.
8 to 5.
Yeah, there are some offices offer alternate work weeks. Some have 4 10-hour shifts. Some have what we call 9-8-80, and some are the traditional Monday through Friday 8 to 5. But so that it's primarily the daytime shift. There's no night shift.
So, what are part-time hours like? Is it only on the weekdays? Yes, as Dina mentioned, we only work Monday to Friday, no holidays, occasional weekends when we have to do an off-hour surveys. Part-time, we can adjust. It can be 2 days a week, 8 hours, or it can be 4 hours a day that you can go. So it really depends upon your schedule. We can work with you in trying to figure out what works for you um, during your employment with us.
Yeah, the one thing about part-time, we are not allowed to also work in facilities that we license.
That's right.
It's kind of a conflict. So if you're working somewhere else and you want to work part-time with us, it probably won't work out the best for you. A lot of times people who do part-time work they're
In hospitals,
retired already, or they have other commitments where they only want to work part-time for us, so that's probably the primary part-time people we receive.
And that one question, can one work part-time and still receive full benefits? And the answer to that is yes.
One-on-one mentoring?
One-on-one mentoring. Well, when you go out, it might not necessarily be
One-on-one.
one-on-one. Sometimes
It's a
the
team.
trainers,
Yeah.
sometimes the trainers will take two of you out. It just depends, but you get very good training.
As far as maybe speaking with your supervisor, though, too, if you have concerns about anything, you could always schedule a one-on-one with
Right.
them. They have IDPs, individual development plans, that you could sit down and discuss with your supervisor as far as how you're doing right now versus maybe where you want to be, and set up a plan for that. Everybody is generally very widely available throughout the process.
And there's another good question we already received. Is the bachelor's or master's degree required? And no, associate's degree in nursing is the basis with the 1-year experience and the 6 months administrative. So the bachelor's or master's degree would just get you past those minimum requirements, but it's not required to have a bachelor's or a master's degree. Where do reports get written
Yeah,
up?
to read it
In the
in the
computer.
office, hopefully.
Yeah. Oh no, you can write them in the field. If the question means what kind of program you use, we have a federal program that we type up our findings into. So that's what that means.
And they'll teach you that at the academy.
Correct.
So this is a good question. Do we have a choice for where we go to survey? No, not really. Depends upon your supervisor, and where we have some workload priorities that are being established. The federal government gives us a tier 1 and tier 2 workload, so those have to be accomplished within the federal fiscal year. So really, everybody, all offices have a schedule they have to go by, and they tap the teams or the nurses, surveyors that can go to that. So we kind of tell you where to go.
But a lot of times it works out. You'll have people who love to travel in an office, people not so much. So a lot of times if you love doing a certain type of facility, each office will try to work that in. It's doable, but there are times where you have to go somewhere out of town when you're not a fan of traveling, but actually a lot of people like to travel occasionally, especially when you don't have to pay for it.
Right. That's right.
But a lot of times
It's your
it just
mini
works out.
vacation, right?
Yes, yes.
So, another question, if you're interested in a particular part of the job, such as complaints, how is this accommodated? We can,
Yeah, it depends on the structure of the office, but I've always felt like if you have someone who loves to do a certain task, then you try as much as you can to get them to do that task. So it's based on the office needs, but when the opportunity arises,
you have to.
Yeah, they try to accommodate people's preferences as much as they can.
Right, and some offices have a designated complaints team. So that's their focus. They only investigate complaints. Sometimes it's on a rotation basis. Probably after a year, staff rotate between surveys and complaints. So it is possible that you focus on certain tasks, but you need to be flexible and adaptable for any other changes that might happen during your career. Is relocation assistance available? Unfortunately, no. No, we're not. We're not rich. So yeah, you have to do your own relocation, and that's just how it goes with our department.
And then travel. For
Yeah,
travel,
that's a
do
good
we
question.
use our own car or state vehicle? We do have state vehicles. We have rental cars. Occasionally, staff do use their own car and they're reimbursed, but for multiple reasons, it's better off to use a state vehicle or rental vehicle. I know because one time someone rear-ended me while I was on state work, and so then I didn't have my car for a period of time. So, but we do have state vehicles for people to use and rental vehicles.
What is the starting pay based on?
It's based on, CalHR, California Human Resources is responsible for the salaries and the pay scale. So That's a loaded question.
But you know,
That's a good
sometimes
question.
There's-
when you get hired, offered the position, if you submit current pay stubs, that they'll whoever's offering you the position will tell you. But if you if you're making more than the minimum, you submit your
Yeah.
current pay stubs if there's no gap, and then you might start at a higher level. And also, if you live in certain areas, you might start at a higher level. So that's something you can discuss with the
You can get a
office.
geographical ham, or you can get
right.
an extraordinary ham.
Yeah.
So the extraordinary ham is what
Ham is
Dina
not the
was
food,
talking about.
right?
No, it's not the food.
What is
It's
ham?
the money. It's the
What
money.
hiring above minimum?
Hiring
Yeah.
above minimum.
So it's
Yes.
based on your experience in the office.
If you
Yes.
feel like you have extraordinary experience in something, I encourage you definitely to submit as much documentation as possible when applying for the position. If you do have experience, you could very well qualify for what we call a ham, which is a hiring above the minimum, and we can bring you in at a little bit of a higher pay than everybody else. So I encourage everyone, if you've got certificates, degrees, experience, submit everything when you do apply for that position. And if you do get called for an interview, it doesn't hurt also to maybe remind the hiring manager when you do go in for an interview, if you do select me, would you please be courteous and review my extraordinary experience, because I would like to see if I might qualify for a ham, hiring above the minimum. So I encourage you to do that if you feel like you do have more experience.
Experience and higher salaries, like most
Yes.
of the nurses that work in the hospitals are paid more. So I think that would be worth
We
exploring.
understand pay is an issue,
I know.
so go for it. If you've got the knowledge and the experience, then definitely show it off.
Yes.
Are there any safety issues for nurse
Yeah.
surveyors? We don't come into direct patient contact. We're not touching the patients. So I don't think there's specific safety concerns as far as infection control. I don't think that it's anything, you're not lifting patients, so I'm not sure what the safety concerns are. And we wouldn't necessarily send you into an isolation room or anything like that.
Right.
So I'm not sure what safety concerns the question was about.
And probably safety and security. If you're inside the facility
Oh,
surveying, then I don't think there's a problem. And we really try to discourage people, in certain areas not to stay there at night, because you don't know the community around it like any other place. So I think it's just common sense security and safety rules. Don't travel by yourself and don't travel at night in the community where you're surveying. And go as a team and go home as a team too. So you can look after each other. So
Yeah.
there's
The compensation. I have a question. What is the compensation for travel? And is it from your home or your office?
Yeah, it has to be from office. We don't pay travel from home to office.
Well, sometimes
But it depends
yeah,
upon
it depends.
where the places, where the facility is.
Right. If
Which is
your
the
normal
shorter.
commute, it's
Normal
complicated, but you're compensated for any out of the ordinary travel. But we
There's
base it off of
mileage.
your normal commute.
Right.
And subtract it from what you're doing. Like if your home is closer to the facility than you normally drive to work, then no. But it's not. You will never be shorted. So I guess that's what
That's
we
the
can
best way
say.
to
Right.
put it.
Yeah, you won't be shorted. So.
You'll
It
be
looks
reimbursed
like
for
whichever
mileage.
is lesser, if the distance perhaps between your home
Correct.
versus the location is
Right.
lesser, that's the amount of reimbursement they're going to review.
For the mileage.
Yeah, unless you start off at the office, like if you meet with a team to go, then you'll be automatically from the office. So it kind of it works out that way sometimes.
And we reimburse for the hotel, and you
Yeah.
have to follow the rules of Concur, which is for the travel. And there's per diem meals that you can submit to for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you have incidentals that is reimbursed. So, yeah, so the travel is sufficiently reimbursed.
Says, how do we know if we can work for CDPH if we work in a hospital facility? Is there a list?
If you work in a hospital, you cannot work
Well,
for us.
there are a couple. Any
Like
hospital,
what?
like the VA
Oh, the
hospitals,
federal?
because
Yeah.
we don't oversee the
Yeah.
federal hospitals.
Oh.
So there are a few cases, some clinics we don't oversee, so it just depends on whether we license or certify the facility.
Right.
So you can apply, and during your interview, you can inquire about that.
So, do you offer education reimbursement? Um, we offer license reimbursement, your license as a registered nurse. There are some training opportunities that I think it's mandatory or priority that you can apply for as additional study, but this is subject to headquarters review and HR review. So most of the time, no, I would say, but your license, your RN license is reimbursed.
Yeah, and also it depends on the course. If you're taking something to better, like for your individual program plan, there are funds that are allocated for that. So you would have to submit a training request and have it reviewed. And some of them are reimbursable.
Mm-hmm.
It says what happens if you fail your first attempt at the exam. I was told you can only take the exam once a year. If you do fail and you feel like maybe it was just an accidental selection you made or something like that, we do have a contact person in the exam section that can perhaps assist you with maybe correcting that error, I believe. But you can only take the exam once a year.
Once a year.
And that's like every 12 months.
Yes.
About 12 months.
Every 12 months. So on the 13th month, you can take the exam again.
And then it says, is there a deadline for filing the application? People call all the time and are so worried about not getting their applications in on time, but do not worry because they are continuous and they are always up.
There's no end time.
If you see an ad online that says the final filing date is, how many days are in December? 12/31?
31.
December 31st this month. Don't worry because come that night or the very next day, another ad for January for the whole month will be up. So do not ever worry. You can apply anytime, any day. They will always be there.
There's a question on here asking how long it takes to get hired. We're actually, before we were releasing, it's a long, complicated process, but they were releasing applications every 30 days to be reviewed, and now it's every 2 weeks. So it actually, back when I got hired, I think I waited 6 months from I took a written test to actually getting an interview. And then it took longer to get hired. So probably about 8 months back when I originally got hired in 2001. But now it's probably about a month. It's gotten a lot better, a lot more streamlined and efficient. So it shouldn't take very long.
So there's another question here. Is there room for advancement? Definitely. As Dina mentioned earlier, she started as a health facilities evaluator nurse and became a supervisor and became a district administrator, and then became as another supervisor, and then a branch chief. So there is room for upward mobility. So if you're interested in supervision and management, leadership skills, there is room for advancement here with license and certification.
And then there's a question about military experience. I believe that is added to the original exam percentage for ranking.
It says if you go to the Cal Career website, you can click on the veterans. I'm sorry, what does that say?
Cal Career?
There's a site that says
Cal Career.
On the career site it says veteran. But I believe on the exam it also gives you a certain percentage point to bump you up.
Yeah.
But there's a tool to determine if it counts for your state experience. There's a tool on that website that'll tell you if your military experience will count.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good question.
Yeah, makes us think, right?
Administrative, okay, this says, in regard to the administrative experience, is it required that we have actually written policy? Oh, that you've written policy? No.
As an RN.
You don't have to have written policy. It'd be great.
We would like you, but policy might tag you, right?
Yeah, they might steal you over in policy, but no, that's not a requirement. I don't know a lot of nurses that have written policy, but it would be a perk.
Probably mostly managers and supervisors as part of their job.
Yes, but it's not required.
We would like to hire you if you have policy background. Okay. Do you have more time for your questions? Really? Let's see. What is we talked about the service area for the district office. So it's in the county where the district office is located.
There's one that says reference material for getting ready to become a nurse surveyor. I guess you can look at the regulations that we
Oh, yeah.
use. We use federal, the Code of Federal Regulations for nursing homes, California Title 22 regulations for health facilities. But really, during the interview process, it's a lot of basically critical thinking questions, because that's required. You need to be able to analyze and critically think about things. So we don't really get into as far as the interview process regulations or statutes or anything. So not necessarily. Okay.
We have more questions?
My eligibility is still active as a previous state employee. Do I still need to take the exam for this position? Yes.
Yes. Well, as a previous state employee, in what classification? If you're a
Right.
previous state employee, that may be on a.
Like if you were previously health facilities evaluator nurse, maybe would you
Then you
need
don't
to
have to
take the
take the
exam
exam.
again? No. If you have not previously been a health facilities
Right.
evaluator nurse as a state employee, then yes, you still need to take that exam.
Okay. Are there many team building activities, company events? Well,
We
I
do.
don't- I
We
don't
have
know
a
about,
ton.
I've never been to a state company event, but there are team building. Teams, when you're a nurse surveyor, a lot of your work is done as a team.
Right.
You do individual complaint evaluations sometimes, or investigations, and there are certain survey types where only one of you will be going, but a lot of it is team oriented, so we really like team players, and so there are team building activities, but company events,
No.
I don't
Well,
think-
yeah, sometimes we do picnics,
Some
like
some units do
personal-
more than others.
and they do
so-
like nice fancy dinners. Yeah,
Yeah. But you all
there's team
contribute
building.
to it.
Yeah,
it's
you
out of
pay for it. It's not from the
It's
from
not
the
like
state.
private sector, big
Yeah,
company
we have to
events.
Yeah.
work for it.
And we have we have our
Fundraising.
potlucks and social events for all the holidays. Like we're having a holiday party coming up tomorrow. I want to invite you, but we don't have a room for everybody here. So, but we have a holiday party scheduled tomorrow. So I think that's about it. That is for the virtual job fair, our first job fair, and hopefully more. If this is very effective, we will do some more. And I want to thank everybody, especially all of you, the participants, and my panel here, and for helping you present this job fair. A recording of this presentation, along with the complete list of questions and answers, will be shared soon for future reference. And if you have any other questions or comments, please reach out to us through any of the options listed on the screen now. You can visit our site, email us, or call the personal liaison unit. Sarah gave you the number. In the meantime, I want to thank you again for your interest and hope to see your application soon. And thank you all to my panel members here. I think you all did a good job presenting this useful information, and hopefully this will make you ready for change and apply with us. Thank you. Thank you.